Following the release of Fallout 3 in 2008, the Fallout modding community has seen a huge rise in popularity. This is largely thanks to the release of the GECK editor 2 months after the game's launch, giving players a powerful set of tools to make mods with. With Fallout 4 introducing mods to console users, and with the explosive growth of sites like Nexus Mods and BethesdaNet, more people are enjoying mods for the Fallout series than ever before. While people are generally interested in mods that improve the game's visuals or add new weapons or companions, many creators have taken to crafting quest mods for these games. These quest mods can contain hours of content and usually include new characters, weapons, quests, and areas to explore. Some of the most popular quest mods, including the New Vegas Bounty series, Fusion City Rising, Atomic Radio and Tales from the Commonwealth, Fallout New California, and Falscar for Skyrim, have collectively earned millions of downloads, and in Falscar's case, even gotten their creator a job in the games industry. Since the release of Fallout 3, hundreds of quest mods have been made, many of which would receive plenty of attention. Others, however, would fall into obscurity. This story is about one of those mods, a 3-part quest mod series for Fallout 3 created by a very talented woman. A series that at one point would receive thousands of downloads and endorsements on the Nexus, but in the years to come would disappear from the website entirely, with little to no trace. My name is Cullen Wino, and this is the story of A Quest for Heaven, the Lost Fallout 3 quest mod. This story begins on December 1st, 2009. On this day, A Quest for Heaven 1, Secrets from the Past was uploaded to the Fallout 3 Nexus by Firelady. The description reads, "It's the first part from a much larger intended saga. This first part is named Secrets from the Past and cover the beginning of the adventure. Part 1. It's a fairly large quest, and I must say from the beginning, it was designed for a solo experience, so leave your companion in a safe place and proceed." While Firelady already had some modding experience with Unreal Tournament 2003, this would be her first time making anything for a Fallout game. According to the description, this mod was the result of 3 months of hard work. This is especially impressive, as from personal experience, a mod of this scale would take much longer to build, especially while learning how to use the GECK along the way. So how does it play? My playthrough of Secrets from the Past took me around 4 hours, start to finish, and I really enjoyed it. The story of this mod is told through various notes and terminal entries you find in a variety of dungeons, including an abandoned satellite facility, a fallout shelter, and a vault. Now, while many modern quest mods are filled with heavily scripted scenes and a variety of characters with dialogue, this mod is not. And that's okay. Not only was this Firelady's first quest mod, but at the time of this mod's release, the GECK editor for Fallout 3 had only been out for a year, and as such, not many mods released around this time would contain new characters with voice acting or scripted scenes. It wouldn't be until the release of the GECK editor for Fallout New Vegas a year later that scripted scenes and characters with voice acting would become the standard for quest mods. While there were a few quest mods for Fallout 3 released before Secrets from the Past, many of them were small dungeon mods or mini adventures of a relatively small scale. This mod, however, was an exception. I enjoyed exploring the large abandoned areas in this mod. While the interiors could be pretty confusing at certain points, I thought they were well designed, with plenty of attention to detail. Many of the interiors require you to perform a multi-step task to progress into the next area. This often meant you had to read terminals and notes to find out how to proceed. No quest markers here. I found the constant backtracking to be a little bit annoying, but it was really rewarding to solve the puzzles and move on. As far as the story for Part 1 goes, it's pretty good, and does a good job of laying the foundation for the next part. As Firelady was not a native English speaker, some of the notes and terminal entries are written a little awkwardly, but you can still understand the meaning behind them. As the majority of this mod's story is told through notes, you'll find yourself reading a lot of them to find out what's going on. These notes range from diary entries to old emails, and the majority of them are quite interesting. I knew this was Firelady's first mod, and I knew that she learned how to use the GECK while making it, so overall, I was impressed with the whole thing, more so knowing it was released in 2009. Other people would be impressed too. While the mod has since been removed from the Nexus, more on that later, by the end of 2013, it would receive over 50,000 downloads and over 600 endorsements. Following the success of Secrets from the Past, Firelady would be determined to create a worthy sequel to her breakout hit. A few short months after the release of Part 1, A Quest for Heaven 2, Like a Diamond in the Sky, would be released on August 1st, 2010. This time, however, she would have a little help, with fellow modder Andromeda Crescent contributing to some of the level design, navmesh, and scripting. And working together, they would produce a masterpiece. I've been playing and making quest mods for 8 years, and I can safely say this is my favorite quest mod of all time, out of every Fallout game. My playthrough of Like a Diamond in the Sky clocked in at just over 10 hours. That's right, this mod is 10 hours long. There are AAA games being released in the present day that aren't even this long, and this mod was released only 9 months after Part 1. Like a Diamond in the Sky improves upon Secrets from the Past in nearly every way. While Secrets from the Past only had a single NPC, Like a Diamond in the Sky features a huge cast. This includes a ghoul scientist, an Enclave operative, and some very sassy robots. While none of them have any voice acting, being able to talk to these characters really enhances the whole experience. The level design was also improved upon, with some of the coolest interiors I've ever seen in a Fallout game. Some of them were quite memorable, like this train tunnel with a nuke poking through the ceiling. In fact, there were so many memorable places in this mod, it's hard to pick my favorite. At one point, I found myself having to parkour over a room full of Deathclaws. There was also the part with the crushers on the conveyor belt, and the electrical maze. This mod's level design is really good. The general formula of this mod is a lot like Secrets from the Past. Playing through the entirety of Like a Diamond in the Sky in 1 week, I began to notice some patterns. You would enter a dungeon and end up in a hub area from which you had a few options. You could usually go to the reactor area, the security area, or the dorms, and in each area you would find a key or a password. Said key or password would unlock the door to another area, where there would be another key, and so on. And after exploring each area in a hub, you'd exit, explore for a few minutes, then move on to the next. While these tasks did start to get repetitive, the environments are creative and make good use of DLC assets. At one point in the mod, you enter a biology lab, and the whole area feels like something straight out of the Institute in Fallout 4. The design in this mod is ahead of its time, and that's not even mentioning the final few hours. A few hours into the mod, you reach the core facility, a place referenced throughout the mod. While it may look like your typical abandoned facility, there is much more to it than that. After reading some terminal entries, you discover that Core is actually a missile launch facility. Some of the notes in the mod, as well as the title itself, mention something called Heaven. As it turns out, Heaven is actually a space station created by the US government with the goal of helping humanity survive after the Great War. Not only do you get to go to Heaven, but you also get to watch a fancy cutscene. It's hard to believe that this mod was released in 2010, as there are so many cool elements in it that were really ahead of their time. However, I did experience a few problems, but nothing too major. I had some issues with the game crashing frequently toward the end of the mod, and I had to look up a guide for one of the puzzles early on. It turns out I was missing a key that was hidden inside the last dungeon I went through, and had to go back and get it. I also felt like the combat balancing was a little weird at a few points. Early on in the mod, I had to fight through a room filled with like 20 sentry bots, which was just silly, and occasionally there would be a security robot that was just a scaled down Liberty Prime that would insta-kill me and crash the game every time it did so. But other than that, the whole experience was a breeze. Overall, I had a blast with Like a Diamond in the Sky, and I was excited to see how good the next part would be. Not long after the release of Like a Diamond in the Sky, Fire Lady and Andromeda Crescent would produce a demo for A Quest for Heaven 3, Deep Blue. I couldn't find any information about this demo online other than a few small references to it, so I have to assume that it was never released to the public. Deep Blue was set to be the greatest installment of A Quest for Heaven yet, and the pair's work on the mod would quickly build up steam. However, tragedy would strike a few months after the release of Like a Diamond in the Sky. Fire Lady would not live to see Deep Blue come to fruition, as she would tragically pass away in 2010 following a car accident. 3 years later, Andromeda Crescent would make a forum post explaining the circumstances surrounding her passing, leading many fans of the series to mourn the loss of a very talented mod author. I won't be including images or direct quotes from this post in the video, as it's some pretty heavy and heartbreaking stuff to read. In spite of the tragic loss of Fire Lady, Andromeda Crescent would be determined to carry on her legacy. With the help of the demo for Deep Blue, as well as Fire Lady's story notes, Andromeda Crescent would release A Quest for Heaven 3, Deep Blue, on October 10th, 2013. I have mixed feelings about Deep Blue. It features some of the series' highest points, as well as its lowest. Let's start with the good parts. As far as scale goes, this is by far the largest installment of A Quest for Heaven. My playthrough took me roughly 14 hours, which is about as long as it took for me to finish Secrets from the Past and Like a Diamond in the Sky combined. While it might take a few hours less for someone else to play through it, I took my time with it, reading every note and terminal entry I could find. The biggest difference between Deep Blue and Like a Diamond in the Sky is the introduction of voice acting for many of the main characters. The voices for the characters feel appropriate, and really bring the characters to life like never before. While some characters have human voice actors, plenty of characters are also voiced by a text-to-speech program of some kind, which makes sense, as it's often robot characters with these voices. I ran into one or two characters that didn't have any voice acting at all, which is fine, but I still thought it was a little weird to have some characters voiced while others were silent. Deep Blue also includes some of the coolest level design yet, raising the bar even higher. The reactors and laboratories in this mod are just gorgeous, and the interiors have much more variety this time around. You can really see just how much Andromeda Crescent improved with his level design compared to Like a Diamond in the Sky. I also enjoyed the changes that were made to the way quests work in Deep Blue. Each quest is completely self-contained in their own unique areas, and feel a lot more individual than in Like a Diamond in the Sky. For instance, one quest involves you entering a huge dungeon and lab underneath the Citadel, and another one involves you entering some research bases on Point Lookout. I don't know why more quest mods don't include content in DLC areas, as I felt like Point Lookout was the perfect spot for these locations. Before each quest in the mod, you get a nice little briefing at Outpost 23, a player home you unlock early on, and I gotta say, it's a pretty sick player home. It includes all your usual amenities like a bed and storage, but it also has an AI named Cisco that gives you the ability to upgrade weapons you find throughout the mod. Speaking of weapons, this mod has a bunch of them. Andromeda Crescent really outdid himself this time, as there are so many crazy and unique weapons in this, not to mention the fancy armors too. Nearly every new weapon and armor piece has its own unique model, and they all look absolutely beautiful. Some of these weapon ideas are really creative too, like the launcher that shoots light projectiles or the gun that shoots spider mines. Not only do you get to upgrade the weapons you find, but you also get to upgrade your armor as well. By the time your armor is fully upgraded, you can cycle through several forms of vision, turn on a stealth field, or craft ammo anywhere in the world. The parts where this mod really shines, though, are the scripted scenes and giant battles. Extra attention was put on the story this time around, and with the addition of voice acting, some of these scenes feel like stuff straight out of a movie. The large-scale battles in this mod are cool as well, and really push the limits of Fallout 3's engine. Near the end of the mod, you have to fight your way through a reactor room absolutely filled up with a ton of enemies. Running through the room, trying desperately not to get stunned, was by far the coolest experience I've ever had in Fallout 3. However, this mod is not without its faults, as I experienced more crashes playing Deep Blue than both of the other parts combined. Near the end of the mod, I had to enter this one area to retrieve a keycard. Unfortunately, every time I entered the level the keycard was located in, my game crashed. This was really frustrating, and the only way I could resolve this issue was by opening up the GECK to find out which item I needed and giving it to myself with console commands. I had actually soft-locked in the mod, and if I didn't already know how to use the GECK to solve this issue, I wouldn't have been able to finish the mod, which is not cool. My game would also crash a lot during some fight scenes, which really killed the mood, as I often had to reload a scene multiple times in order to progress. In their defense, this mod did push Fallout 3 to its limits, so it was kinda understandable that there would be occasional crashes. I also found myself getting stuck in a few places and having to use the very convenient player guide to find out where to go next. Much like the previous parts, this mod does not use quest markers a whole lot, which is fine in most cases, but when I have to go backwards through a dungeon for 10 minutes to find a key I missed, it started to really irritate me. Having to constantly backtrack because I missed something small really took me out of the story, which sucks because the story here is really good. However, my biggest issue by far with this mod is the combat balancing. In Like a Diamond in the Sky, my biggest issue was with the scaled down Liberty Prime robots that would kill me in one shot. While they were annoying, they didn't appear too often, and I probably dealt with about 10 in the entire mod. Well, in Deep Blue, they really ramp up the frequency of the one-shot enemies, except not with Liberty Prime robots, but with robot soldiers. They appear pretty frequently, especially toward the end of the mod, and if they shoot you once, you fall over and take 150 damage per second for 3 seconds, which is a little excessive. The silver lining to this, however, is that once you kill them, you can pick up their super overpowered weapon and use it as much as you want. While I didn't really want to use these overpowered weapons too much to keep the combat from becoming too easy, I found myself exclusively using them toward the end of the mod. This is because of how stupidly tanky some of the enemies become by the end of the mod. At one point, you have to clear out a bunch of robots so some friendly vertibirds can land. My gun would be doing over 500 damage with each shot, and it would barely scratch some of these guys. And there were around 30 of them that I had to kill to finish the quest. I didn't want to spend an hour fighting these ridiculously tanky robots, so I ended up using the Kill All console command for my sanity's sake. There's another scene later on where you have to kill some special Deathclaws. I was barely doing any damage to them, so I just used the Kill console command on them as well. I got curious though, so I resurrected one of them to see how much max health it had. It had 62,500 health, which was just absolutely ridiculous. That's as much health as nearly 57 Feral Ghoul Reavers, or 31 Behemoths. And there were 3 of them too, which is just silly. While Deep Blue had its share of issues, I still really enjoyed the whole experience. Finishing the mod was bittersweet, and left me with the kind of longing you get after finishing a really good movie or book. I was happy to have been able to play the trilogy, but I felt sad as well, knowing that this would be the final entry in the series for the foreseeable future. Following its release, Deep Blue would receive plenty of success from the Nexus, and would quickly be voted File of the Month for October 2013. That success, however, would not last forever, as the file would be hidden by the Nexus admins on March 22, 2014. According to some personal messages provided by Andromeda Crescent on his blog, Deep Blue would be hidden from public view for containing illegal assets. At one point during development, Andromeda Crescent would use assets from another modder named Toxa, a user known by the Nexus admins to rip assets from games and repurpose them for mods, a move considered to be piracy. During the development of Deep Blue, Andromeda Crescent used assets from a variety of modders, but sometimes neglected to include credits for them. This made it difficult for him to know exactly who contributed what to the mod, making it difficult for him to determine what assets weren't allowed on the Nexus. He was allowed to make the Deep Blue file public once again, on the condition that all illegal content was to be removed from the mod. Andromeda Crescent agreed to these conditions and uploaded a patch for Deep Blue, which would remove all of the illegal content from the mod. This, however, would be the wrong move. While Andromeda Crescent did upload a patch to Deep Blue that removed the illegal content, he also neglected to remove the original file containing the illegal content to begin with, and made the mod public again. I don't know if it was intentional or if something got lost in translation, but either way, the mod was made public again, and the pirated content was still there. This would result in Andromeda Crescent being banned from Nexus mods on June 29, 2014, with A Quest for Heaven 3 Deep Blue being removed from the website entirely. This would infuriate Andromeda Crescent, leading him to post several heated entries on his blog to express his frustration. He clearly had a lot to talk about, and in the months to come, would make several blog posts criticizing Nexus mods for a variety of reasons. However, most of this stuff is just personal drama that teeters on the edge of being a full-blown conspiracy theory. Either way, Andromeda Crescent grew tired of Nexus mods, and became upset that Secrets from the Past and Like a Diamond in the Sky were being hosted on the Nexus. Around a year after his ban, Secrets from the Past and Like a Diamond in the Sky would be deleted from the website. The weird thing about these mods being removed is that unlike Andromeda Crescent, Firelady's account is still present on the site to this day, and remains unbanned. While I don't definitively know what happened, according to some comments made by Andromeda Crescent, it's heavily implied that he removed the 2 files from the Nexus himself. As he contributed to Like a Diamond in the Sky and was very close to Firelady, there's a possibility that he was able to log into her account and delete the files himself. This is reinforced by the fact that the Firelady account on the Nexus was last online in 2015, years after the original owner passed away. Either way, A Quest for Heaven had been completely removed from the Nexus. This would not, however, be the end for the series. Less than a month after his ban from Nexus mods, Andromeda Crescent would re-upload all 3 parts of A Quest for Heaven, except this time, the mods would be hosted on ModDB rather than the Nexus. To this day, it remains the only official place to download the A Quest for Heaven series. In the years since its re-upload, the entire series has received just shy of 13,000 downloads, a shadow of its former popularity. As far as the future for this series goes, it's uncertain. Andromeda Crescent's most recent blog post was made on February 18th, 2017, where he described his plans for the series. He plans on releasing a new saga for A Quest for Heaven, one to be called The Iron Dream. The first part of the saga is planned to be for Fallout 3, with the working title of On the Shore of Forever. The second part is planned for Fallout New Vegas, with the working title of Twilight. And finally, the third part is planned for Fallout 4, with the working title of Nightfall. Nightfall will serve as the conclusion for the new saga, as well as A Quest for Heaven. According to the blog post, the trailer for On the Shore of Forever was set to be released on July 1st, 2017, with the mod hopefully releasing on September 1st of the same year. However, to this day, no such trailer or mod has been released. Since making that blog post, Andromeda Crescent has not released any additional updates regarding the series, leading many people, including me, to believe the series had reached its conclusion. Andromeda Crescent is still online occasionally on ModDB, and I reached out to him with some questions while making this video, but a few weeks later, I still have yet to receive a reply, which leads us to where we are today. Now, you might be wondering, why did I make a video about a series of Fallout 3 quest mods that are nearly 10 years old? Well, I first discovered A Quest for Heaven about a month ago when a user on the Fallout Mods subreddit made a post about the trilogy, describing it as a very well built expansion to the main game, with several DLCs worth of content. I got curious about how a series of mods this big could go unnoticed and fall into obscurity, so I installed Secrets from the Past, and the rest is history. I made this video because I wanted more people to know about A Quest for Heaven. I think it's awful how the series has fallen under the radar, and I really want to change that. So if you own Fallout 3 on PC, I strongly recommend that you give A Quest for Heaven a try. Start with Secrets from the Past, then play the entire trilogy. You'll get nearly 30 hours of gameplay out of it. I promise, you will not regret it. And that's it for the story of A Quest for Heaven, the Lost Fallout 3 quest mod. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as I spent a lot of time working on this, and I have much more Fallout modding stuff on the way, both for players and creators of quest mods, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.